Hello, everyone. Tonight, I will tell you three stories. Three secrets buried by time, obsession, and blood. There are seemingly harmless objects. An old doll, a stained mirror, or a dusty castle forgotten in the deep woods. But have you ever thought that? Behind those things are the whispers of a soul longing to be freed. A young girl haunted by an old toy. A mirror that can reflect the soul instead of the form. And an ancient castle where the white shadow has never left. Turn off the lights, put on your headphones, and prepare yourself. Because once the story begins, there is no turning back. Story 1. Whispers in the Night. Have you ever kept an old toy just because it reminded you of childhood? But what if, one night, that toy started whispering your name in the dark? Would you still believe it's just an inanimate object? Lily was a young woman living alone in a small apartment on the outskirts of the city. A place where nightfall brought only wind, silence, and the dull orange glow of the streetlights. Quiet and reserved, Lily lived in her own world. A world filled with antique dolls collected from flea markets, old thrift stores, and forgotten corners of the city. That day, it was drizzling. She wandered into a narrow alley and stumbled upon a tiny, signless store nestled between two crumbling buildings. Inside, the scent of rotting wood and old fabric filled the air, and hundreds of aged objects lay buried beneath layers of dust. But one thing stood out: a porcelain doll resting inside a glass case. Its skin was pale as paper with soft, blushing cheeks, golden curled hair, and eyes. Glassy, gleaming, uncannily lifelike. Lily felt like it was staring right at her. The store owner, an old man hunched with age, looked at her once and muttered, "If you take it home, don't leave it alone for too long." Lily chuckled. She didn't believe in ghost stories, and that doll, sold for less than a cup of coffee, came home with her. Night 1. As silence wrapped around the room, Lily, half asleep, heard something, a faint, almost inaudible sound. Not the rain, not the clock, a whisper. "Lily!" She jolted upright. The room was still. No wind, no movement. Only silence. She told herself it was nothing. Just her imagination. But the next morning, the doll was no longer on the shelf. It was sitting on her desk, facing the bed. Night 2. She set up a camera, half as a joke, half out of unease. She had to know. The next morning, she reviewed the footage. Her hands trembled. At 2:13 a.m., the doll moved its lips, slowly, gently, as if whispering. And then it smiled. Night 3. Silence, no whispers this time. Lily lay there, wide awake, heart pounding. She turned slowly. The doll was gone. Then, from behind her, just inches from her ear, a low, raspy voice said, "Lily, I see you now." She screamed. She ran out into the rain with the doll in her hands, tossing it into the garbage bin behind her building. But when she returned to her room, it was already there, sitting on her bed, smiling. Lily tried to explain, to friends, to neighbors, to anyone. No one believed her. They said she was exhausted, that she needed rest. But Lily knew. Something lived inside that doll. And then, one morning, she was gone. The apartment door had to be broken down. No sign of a struggle, no signs of Lily. No note, only the doll. Sitting on the bed, its eyes sparkling, its porcelain lips slightly parted. And if you leaned in, if you really listened, you could hear a faint whisper. "Now, I need someone new." Have you ever bought something secondhand without knowing who owned it before you? Have you ever wondered what memories or spirits might still cling to it? Because sometimes you're not just bringing home an object, you're bringing home a curse. And if you think a doll that whispers is the most terrifying thing out there, You've clearly never stood before a mirror at midnight and stared deep into your reflection. Are you sure what's looking back is still you? Story 2. The Haunted Mirror, the Final Reflection. In a calm, haunting narrative tone, Emma was a third-year art student, passionate about antiques, objects that carried the weight of time and whispered stories through their silence. One cloudy Sunday afternoon, as she wandered through a dusty flea market on the outskirts of the city, she saw it. A large mirror. Its frame was carved from ebony wood, ornate with intricate Baroque patterns. The glass was no longer clear. It shimmered with a silvery tarnish, like memories frozen beneath the surface. Emma was instantly drawn to it. She asked for the price. The seller, an old woman with long silver hair and foggy eyes, didn't hesitate. She only said one thing, slowly, each word dragging like claws. "Don't look into it at midnight, if you still want to keep your soul." Emma laughed. She thought it was just a spooky sales tactic. For only 100,000 Vietnamese dong, around $4, she thought she'd found a hidden gem. She called a ride and brought the mirror back to her dorm. That night, things began to change. Emma started having strange dreams. She saw herself standing before the mirror, but the reflection wasn't quite her. It had empty, lifeless eyes and a twisted smile, a smile that curled unnaturally high, like the skin was tearing from something trying to come through. Emma grew more sleepless. She tried covering the mirror, turned it to face the wall, but every morning the cloth had slipped off, and the mirror was turned once again toward her bed. On the night of the full moon, when the old dorm clock struck 12, Emma, like under a trance, got out of bed. Silent, slow, she walked toward the mirror. In the faint blue light from the window, she noticed something chilling. The reflection no longer moved with her. It stood still. Then, slowly, it smiled. Not a human smile. And then, a cold, pale hand reached out from inside the mirror. Slender and icy, it landed on her shoulder. Emma froze. The hand tightened and pulled her in. A second hand followed. Then, an entire figure began to crawl out from the glass, as if the surface was a pool of black water. Emma screamed, but the dorm remained silent. No one heard. The next morning, her roommate returned from a weekend trip. The door was unlocked, the light was on. The room was empty. No sign of a struggle. Only the mirror remained. She stepped closer, confused, and then she stopped. In the reflection, she saw not just herself. There was someone else, standing behind her, smiling. Since that night, on every full moon, the mirror shimmers faintly, not with moonlight, but with a cold glow from somewhere else. And it still waits, watching for another glance, another soul, the next victim. Story 3. The Sealed Mirror Room. Some places aren't abandoned, they're sealed. And the reason is never just time. David, Sarah, Alex, and James, 4 longtime friends, shared an unusual passion. While others chased beaches and nightlife, they sought out the forgotten. Abandoned buildings, silent hospitals, crumbling homes lost to time. One weekend, James stumbled upon an obscure forum thread. Just a set of coordinates and a scribbled name. Mirror Castle. Deep in the forest, unmarked by any modern map, stood a forgotten chateau once belonging to a noble family. Legend says the youngest daughter, Elena, was accused of practicing black magic. She was locked inside a chamber called the Mirror Room, and was never seen again. Since then, the castle had been sealed, feared, and left to rot. The night of a waning moon. The group arrived at the rusted iron gate. David pushed it. It creaked open with a long, sorrowful groan. The moment they stepped through, the gate slammed shut behind them, without anyone touching it. Inside was suffocatingly dark, Mildew, dust, silence. Spider webs hung like curtains from the ceiling, and portraits lined the walls. But the strangest part, the painted eyes seemed to follow them. Sarah whispered, "It feels like something's still watching us here." They reached the grand hall, the heart of the castle. There stood a massive mirror, nearly touching the ceiling. Its surface was buried under layers of dust, the frame carved from dark, aged wood inscribed with ancient runes. Curious, Sarah gently wiped a patch clean, and in the reflection, they weren't alone. Behind David stood a woman, dressed in white. Her long hair veiled most of her face, still, silent. Sarah gasped, "David, behind you." They spun around. No one was there. The mirror began to tremble, softly at first, then violently. From deep within it, a whisper crawled out, "Leave, or stay forever." Panic. They ran back toward the entrance, but the door wouldn't budge, as if locked from the outside. Then came the footsteps, slow, deliberate, echoing through the hallway. At the far end of the corridor, she stood, the woman in white, still, watching. With nowhere left to run, they descended into the basement. The deeper they went, the colder it became, as if the air itself rejected them. Wet stone walls closed in. The only sound was their breath, and the faint hum of something. Waiting. Etched into the wall was a message, deep, jagged, almost clawed in. "Only through sacrifice may you leave." At the far end of the basement stood another mirror, identical, unblemished, waiting. David moved toward it, as if in a trance, his eyes empty, his steps silent. Sarah screamed, grabbing his arm. "David, no!" But it was too late. The mirror erupted in light, blinding, cold and hollow, and in an instant, the entire room was gone. Morning. James awoke in the middle of the forest, covered in dirt, shaking. He remembered nothing. No castle, no friends, no screams, only silence. As he stumbled forward, he saw something glint in the wet grass. A shattered mirror shard. He bent down, looked in, and in the broken reflection, he saw Sarah's face, smiling, motionless, staring right back at him. Some doors should never be opened. Some mirrors should never be touched. And some places aren't forgotten by time. They are held by the dark. Are you still here? If so, congratulations. You have completed 3 stories. Subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, like and share the video so that I have the motivation to share more stories with you. But remember this, the scariest thing is not the talking doll, not the mirror reflecting the soul, and even less the white shadow in the abandoned castle. But when you turn around and realize something has been standing behind you since when you didn't know. Thank you for listening. Be careful with what you keep in your house, because sometimes they are not just inanimate objects, but doors opening to another world. I am the storyteller, and I will be back when night falls. See you in the next nightmare.